Welcome to Fit and Pain-Free the Bonnie Prudden Way. I'm Enid Whitaker, and I'm joined by Sandy Dirks. Our program each month will center around fitness pioneer Bonnie Prudden and her accomplishments, her method of exercise, and pain erasure the Bonnie Prudden Way, or Bonnie Prudden myotherapy, which is a way to get rid of muscle-related pain. Join us as we begin each meeting with a few tension relieving exercises.
Welcome to Fit and Pain-Free the Bonnie Prudden Way. In this month's discussion, Enid Whitaker and I will let you know how we both discovered and met Bonnie Prudden. Enid.
I actually met Bonnie on TV first.
Okay.
On the Art Linkletter show, which I watched every day. And she was on there promoting her record, Fitness for Baby and You. And my son, that was in May of 62. And the reason I remember it was because my son was 3 months old, Rusty. And she said, you should exercise your baby with every diaper change. So she was demonstrating what to do. So after that, I started Rusty on his exercises. So that's when I first was aware of her. And then I don't know why or where or how I came across her After 30 book, How to Keep Slender and Fit After 30. I was only in my 20s, but I bought it and I started doing the exercises. And I was a graduate of the University of New Hampshire. I have a physical education degree, and I wasn't thrilled with my education. I knew there had to be a better way, but I didn't know what it was, and I knew it was important. So after I graduated and got married and had Rusty, in between there, I did teach for a year at the Oyster River School System, which was in Durham, New Hampshire, too, which is where the university was. And so I taught all grade levels and sports. And then we moved around a while as my husband, Don, tried various jobs out and so forth, and finally landed back in Durham, where he became head of the poultry research department. And so I started teaching at the university where I had graduated. And I just taught single sports like badminton and tennis and fencing and that kind of figure skating and so forth, a variety. But I also played tournament badminton. I'd been playing badminton since I was in 5th grade, and I was pretty good. So I started playing tournament badminton, which meant I had to go to Concord, New Hampshire for all of those. And one day I was up there and a lady went by from the recreation department with a sign that said Bonnie was going to be there. And she said to me, you should come see what this lady does. So I decided I'd go. And I went up, and I was the first one in the gym. And there was all this equipment in there that Bonnie had invented, which I didn't know anything about. There were ramps and ropes and ladders and beams and so forth. They were all different colors. And I started sketching. And I hadn't sketched much of anything, but Bonnie walked in by herself. She had a white medical coat on, ballet slippers, and tights. And she surveyed the room like, you know, it took her a second to make sure everything, and then she started walking toward me. When Bonnie walked, she had a purpose. She came straight over to me and she said, "Are you busy?" And I said, "No." And she said, "Then will you help me?" And I said, "Yes." And basically, I never stopped helping her. So that's how at that point, she showed me how to spot the children that were coming in. It happened to be a special needs class at that point. She showed me how to spot them on the different pieces of equipment and told me I needed to be a bellwether, which meant that if somebody fell down, I had to fall down too. And just make sure that whoever was there was comfortable. So that's how I met Bonnie. And I only knew one person that was at that same event because I played badminton with her. And I said to her, "Barbara, I don't know anybody here. Can I have lunch with you?" Because I brought a sandwich. And she said, "Yeah, but I have to get Bonnie and her business partner set first, and then we can have lunch." And I'm thinking, "Oh." And then after we had had lunch, we went to where Bonnie was having lunch, and I met her personally then. So
Very
that's
neat.
how
That's
how
how
I
you met her.
yeah, that's how
Okay.
I came to meet her. And then I was introduced to the whole basic program of babies and swim and toddlers and special needs, executives, older people, and then the general public. I had never had anything but games and sports for high schoolers. So this was totally new for me. And also it was all done to music. And that weekend changed my life. So after that weekend, I went to my first 5 days to fitness, which is another subject for another blog.
Yes.
But that's how I first met Bonnie.
Okay. And so, but then from then you went to workshops.
I went to the workshops. I helped at the workshops.
Okay. She asked you at some point to
Bonnie
help
could
with workshops.
say that again.
She asked you at some point to help with the workshops after you had gone to a few of them.
That first summer I helped because I knew Barbara.
Got it.
And,
Okay. Okay.
yeah. And Bonnie could see that I moved well because she actually asked me to demonstrate something that first workshop.
Uh-huh.
So after that, every once in a while, I would go down to her home with Barbara. But that's how I didn't start working with her consistently until 1976.
Okay. Before that, though, I know that she used to send people to you. So you took what you learned in the workshops and started a lot of fitness classes in New Hampshire.
Right. I basically I'm a shy person.
Okay.
Um, but this was so my thing that the first thing I did was I went to a YWCA. It was a big house with rooms. And I said, "This is what I do. Can I do it here?" And they said yes. And so I started my first class in a room in a house at a YWCA in Portsmouth, New Hampshire. And
Okay.
then this was before aerobics. So
Mhm.
there wasn't anything really going on in the fitness world. There weren't gyms and so forth the way you go to now. And so I would go to the recreation department. I would say, "This is what I do. Can I do it here?" And they'd say, "Yeah," because they didn't have anything going on in their gyms.
Okay.
So yeah, that's how I started. And the baby swim classes started um, when I went to some other classes and I thought, "Yeah, I can do better than this." So I asked Bonnie if I could read her baby swim book. She said, yeah, but it's still in manuscript form and there aren't any pictures." I said, that's all right. I want to read it anyway. It was so clear that I could imagine what had to be done. And I started my baby swim and gym classes too.
Okay. Okay.
So
So,
I started with women because I figured that was going to be easiest for me. But
mhm.
then I did everything. I did older people, I did nursing homes, I did malls, I did schools, I did everything.
And then your classes were very successful, from what I've been told. Then you trained other people that came to your classes because there were obviously too many classes for you to do all by yourself.
Well, I did. I
Yeah.
actually was teaching about 15 classes a week,
Okay.
and they were in different locations. But
Uh-huh.
I did train people to help me. So there were some very talented people in my classes. So they did help me with my classes, but they didn't really start their own classes.
Okay. Until some of them went on to school, like
Yeah.
Joan Whitworth.
Yeah.
Um,
When I
okay.
to be with Bonnie, they started some classes.
Okay. Okay. Only I remember talking to Susan Kapczynski, who was a friend of ours, and she trained with Bonnie because Bonnie used to have people come to her house and they lived with her while they were training in fitness. And at one point, Susan talks about going to your house.
Yeah.
Um, okay.
Some
Okay.
some of the staff that Bonnie had at her institute, she sent to me because I was doing so many different things.
Okay. Okay.
The funny thing is they remember it and I don't.
I know it's interesting because I think Lori did too, Lori Drummond. I think she came also.
She used to talk about how they went to the bar at the end of the day, six people.
Yep, they used to do myotherapy. Yep. Okay. Okay. And then in 1976 was when you started working for Bonnie pretty much full time. Is that correct?
Well, at first I would do all my classes. I would do my classes Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. And after my last class on Thursday, I would drive to Stockbridge, which was the other end of the turnpike in Massachusetts.
Right.
And then we would travel the next day, do the work on Saturday, come back Sunday, and I would drive back Monday and start all over again. And
Wow.
finally, I was just exhausted. And
Yeah.
Dawn said, you know, you're exhausted. Why don't we move down there? Because her house was huge, and she really needed help.
Yep.
And he could do anything, and I could help Bonnie. So we rented our house in New Hampshire, and we all decided, well, if we're all getting along at the end of a year, we'll stay, and if we're not, we'll go back to New Hampshire. Well, we were getting along fine, and the dog was there too. The dog was getting along fine too. So
So it worked out. And so
yeah,
you were also there at the beginnings of myotherapy.
I was there at the beginning of myotherapy. Yep, and that was you know, when you're in on the beginning, you don't really know you're in on the beginning of something.
Yeah.
And years later, when you realize what you did and what you accomplished and how you did it, and um, Bonnie was never anybody to shut out ideas that somebody else had that might work.
Right. Right.
So so all the staff was really very young but eager,
Yep.
and and every week we would have a meeting and tell what we had done and what had worked and what didn't work, and then try it on one another. So
Hmm.
that's how the beginning of myotherapy developed.
Yes. And I think, and I don't know this because I've never asked you about this. It seems to me at the time also, did Dawn focus more on the myotherapy and you continued your focus more on the exercise? Because for you really didn't start practicing myotherapy until maybe the last 20 years.
Well, the exercise was my first love.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, yeah, I taught classes all over the Berkshires, for every age group and ability. And when the school started, I taught the exercise portion of that too. Yeah,
Okay.
so it wasn't until what, around 2000 that I started doing myotherapy full time.
Yeah.
And then I was doing 25 patients a week.
Yep. Yep.
I'm still doing about 16 a month.
Yes. Yes. At 85 years old.
Yeah, I'll be 86 soon.
Yep, that's right. That's right. But I mean, you've had a lifetime of doing Bonnie's exercises
Right.
and a lifetime now, at least a half a lifetime of practicing myotherapy on yourself. So you have had the tools to keep your body pain free. And actually, people might notice that you've got a different background now than you've had for a while. I don't know if you want. Yeah, go ahead. Why are you in a different background again?
Well, after losing the Havasu property to a mud flood and settling with the county, I finally and living with friends who were very kind to me, I finally found a house near the Havasu property that I thought was perfect for me. I moved in on June 13th. On July 13th, there was a microburst and the roof blew off the house. And
You in
so
it?
with me in it, yeah.
Yeah.
I looked out and there was the roof on the ground.
Oh my
So
God.
I had to pack everything up, put it in storage again, and live with friends again until a month ago when they told me the house would not be they couldn't fix it in a couple of months. It was going to take 8 months. And I really wanted my friends to have their house back, as kind as they were. So here I am in a townhouse, not what I really wanted or thought I wanted, but it's okay.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And I
Okay.
have these acrobats behind me.
Yes, you do. I don't think that we've ever shown that before in
Stockbridge. They followed us all the way.
okay. And there'll be another vlog about the house in Stockbridge also. So we can talk a little bit more about the artwork and all that good stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
So
Very
that's
good.
how doing my thing.
Okay. Okay. Well, boy. So for me, I didn't have a clue who Bonnie Prudden was. I was not interested in physical fitness at all. I thought that I was going to go into theater management. I graduated with a degree in business. I have a BA in business with a minor in speech theater. And I was working out in Reno, Nevada, and mom and dad came to visit me, and dad was having hip pain. And so we were wandering around the bookstore, and Pain Erasure had recently come out. And so we picked it up. And when we got back to my apartment, I had dad lie down on the floor, and I stuck my elbow where the chapter on back pain told me, and it released his hip pain. And so in the back of my head, I thought, oh, because at that point, I knew that business was not for me. And I was thinking about maybe going into physical therapy, but I didn't know much about anything else. So that kind of planted the first seed. I then moved to Minneapolis and worked for some physical therapists to see if that's what I wanted to do. And Bonnie and Enid came through town with a weekend workshop. And somehow I got the information about it. And I went to the weekend workshop. And that's when I very first met Bonnie and Enid and Tom Benson. And I was hooked. I said, this is what I want to do. I don't want to do physical therapy. I want to go to school for this. So
We actually talked to you?
yeah, I did. I actually asked Bonnie about going to school. And I don't remember exactly what she said, but I said, I'm thinking about going to school for physical therapy. And so she said, I don't even remember what she said at the time. Whatever she said at the time convinced me that this was the career path for me. And so I went home and I applied to the school. I think this must have been spring or summer of 82. And I got accepted and I didn't go that first year. You know, my parents were not real thrilled with me going back to school at that point, especially way out in Massachusetts, for heaven's sakes. So then I continued working for the physical therapist, and I started school in 1983. And at that point, the first day of school, you'll have to help me with this. We used to go, was it Berkshire County Day School, where Bonnie would do a 1-day workshop? And that was our first, the students, we would go there for our first day of school. And that was my first exposure to, watching Bonnie again. And she had all of us. She actually, because we were students, like brand new, 1 day old, and she had people line up on the floor, and she told us what to do, and we did it. You know, we were sticking our elbows into people. So that was the very first.
Yeah,
and
we
then,
established what we called the Bonnie Prudden Day. That was
Okay.
Bonnie Prudden Day.
Okay,
And people came from everywhere.
okay,
And
okay,
it was at a private school.
yes,
So they had a gym. So that's
yes.
where we had Bonnie Prudden Day. And we did that for quite a few years.
Okay, okay. That was my first experience. I can't remember how many people were at the workshop in Minneapolis, but there were quite a few people in that gym. And I really remember doing the progressions across the floor. You know, I had taken dance when I was a child, and I always loved to dance, even though I was never any good at any of the sports. I always loved dance. And so that was fun to me. I honestly, when I went to the school, I had no idea how much exercise was involved. Um, I thought it was all trigger point work with some exercise. And what I found out was that it was probably 2/3 fitness and exercise and 1/3 myotherapy. So, but I have to tell you that I absolutely loved it. And it became very clear to me that part of the success with myotherapy in terms of helping people with their pain, fully half of it is the exercise. It's not just working on trigger points, which is what I thought when I first went to school. So anyway, then the full day of school where it was just our students, we didn't all have all of our uniforms. And Bonnie led us across the floors, which was progressions, which was a lot of fun. So I went, it was a 2-year school. I loved the school. I felt like everything I had ever done prior to that prepared me for it. When I graduated, I went down to Florida. I thought I was going to start a practice down there. And I was very naive. I didn't know anybody. And I wrote a letter to Bonnie and said, I don't know what to do. And she said, I think my clinic manager is pregnant. Why don't you come back up to Massachusetts and work at the clinic while she's off on maternity? And Enid, I think, said, you can live with us. We're going to go away somewhere. So, supposedly temporarily, I stayed at the house. And worked at the clinic. And 9 years later, I was still there. You guys probably thought, is she never going to leave us? I mean, I tell people that story, how blessed I was, how fortunate to be in the right place at the right time. To be able to get to know Bonnie, not only as my mentors, but as my friends. And so I went to all the workshops and taught and helped with everything. When you moved out to Tucson, I moved out to Tucson with the dogs. And we started the school out there again. So it's just been an incredible blessing in my life. And I really feel the career path and lifestyle that I was meant to have. So, and again, I'm 65. I've been practicing, for a long time. And it really has been the fitness the myotherapy helps tremendously. If I've got an ache or pain, I reach out for my trusty crook or my Bodos and work on myself. But for my body, doing the exercise has kept me mobile and able to practice without pain. So that's how I met Bonnie Prudden and started working for you guys. And we're still working together. We
Yeah,
still like each other, I think.
because it's important.
Yeah.
And during these vlogs, we're really trying to set the history straight.
Yes.
So there's no mix up.
Exactly. Exactly. So
And going back to the school when you were there, I can remember the first day in the facility that we were using then, which was an old school, I think.
yeah.
Bonnie and I were standing there, and you all were doing floor progressions. And she said to the administrator, "Who's that?" She pointed to you, and the administrator said that's Sandy, and Bonnie said, "Well, she has perfect rhythm."
I absolutely love the exercise part of it. You know, it spoke to me. So I appreciate that. You know, I also appreciate I've always ever as an adult, I was always overweight. But that didn't mean that I couldn't be strong and fit. So, and my weight has been up and down and all over the place, you know, for a long time. It's been pretty consistent now for the last 20 years. But Bonnie never, you know, she was very supportive of me and very kind. And I feel like I was a fairly decent example of somebody who could still do everything, even though I carried some extra pounds. So I think that when I was teaching exercise classes and actually practicing myotherapy, larger people felt comfortable coming to me and could see that you could still be healthy. So I was very appreciative of that.
So we're still
still here.
And hoping to keep the progress going.
We would like to keep the progress going. I just feel that it's such a valuable program, and we will. Yeah. It'll keep going in some form. So anything else you want to say about how you met Bonnie or worked with Bonnie?
No, it was just it was never dull.
Correct.
Bonnie was very predictable in some ways and very unpredictable in others. So it was always a surprise. And even though it was stressful and difficult and hard and exhausting, it was very fulfilling.
Yes.
I guess it's funny. I'm just realizing now how much I know. Of course, there's a lot I don't know either. And what's weird to me sometimes is that I never asked Bonnie any personal questions. So so unless she told me something I didn't know.
Right.
And I kind of wonder why I never asked her things like, why don't you can we go past the house you used to live in? Or, you know, why did you do this? Or who did you, you know, do this with? But I never did. I just always counted on her to tell me what she felt I needed to know.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Yeah. We all miss her.
We do all miss her. She was a creative genius and a lot of fun.
Yep.
Her mind was always working.
And a good friend.
And a good friend. Absolutely.
So that's our story.
That's our story. So thank you, Enid.
Keep fit, be happy.
Keep fit, be happy. Thank you.
Be happy.